Hi all, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Ms. Thomas and I will be guiding you through this week's lesson. We are doing week number 3, short pieces, and looking specifically at 2 speeches. So for Monday and Tuesday, we're going to be looking at the speech on the death of Martin Luther King. Before you do now, I want you to look at this timeline. So you see it starts out in 1526, 1700, 1800, and it is only in 1865 that American slavery ends. And from 1865 to 1954, there is segregation. So I want you to consider the timeline of American slavery, segregation, and present day freedom. And you can even think about how this ties into present day what's happening right now. How might the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. have caused division between people of different races? I'm going to be delving in a little bit further later on, specifically explaining what that speech on the death of Martin Luther King is actually about. But first, just think of that history, that timeline, and where Martin Luther King Jr. was in that timeline and how his death might have been a time that was especially hard for people fighting for civil rights. Robert Kennedy, in his speech on the death of Martin Luther King Jr., had to bring the heartbreaking news of MLK's death. And this was something that would be hard for anyone to do, but he very carefully uses literary devices to connect with his audience. And today we'll be looking specifically at his speech, looking at the ways in which he speaks on this very difficult topic in a way that I personally find as very gracious, and seeing how different literary techniques actually helped him to better communicate his message. Before we go into what you're specifically doing and let you start working on the speech, let's have a quick literary device review. Diction is your word choice, why someone uses one word and not another. Point of view is your viewpoint, your perspective as a narrator. Conflict, you can think of man versus man versus self, man versus society, is any struggle between opposing forces. Setting is the place or type of surroundings where something is positioned, or the event where it takes place. An allusion, and there is an allusion here definitely, is an indirect or passing reference to history, art, politics, pop culture. Metaphor is a comparison of two unlike things, and a simile is a comparison of two unlike things, but it is also using like or as. Appeal to ethos is an ethical and moral argument. It's related to credibility. So as a teacher, there's credibility. You have a master's degree and whatnot. So when someone is writing or speaking, maybe they add in something to establish their credibility as well. Appeal to pathos is an emotional argument. How can you connect to the feelings of whoever is listening? And lastly, logos is a logical argument. How can you use facts, figures, statistics to prove your overall argument? Today, as I mentioned earlier on, you're looking at the speech on the death of Martin Luther King Jr. You're going to have an organizer in which you're going to fill in different parts, just analyzing the speech and the methods that Robert Kennedy uses. Tomorrow, we're going to delve in deeper and you'll have a chance to share your opinions and your thoughts on this. But just for today, you're going to be really taking a deep dive, just looking at the methods that Robert Kennedy uses, and I think a lot of it is very well done. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free, as always, to reach out via Google Chat messages or just comment on the Google Classroom threads, and we will definitely get back to you. I hope that you are all staying safe and healthy, and I'll check in with you tomorrow.